Okay, so the topic is how do I not take things personally? I want to frame something a certain way because for me, when you look up the definition of personal, it's like of or relating to an individual person. And if you follow me at all, you know that I start with the reality that you're energy first. So my personal is me as energy, my state of consciousness, how I think, how I operate, how I choose to feel. All of that is included in my personal. We are not meant to take anybody else into our personal. That's sacred to us. So I just want to start that out with that preface because for me, that helps me shift into being able to apply that concept automatically because now I have this visual of, you're right, man, what you're doing, I am literally I'm grabbing hold and I'm pulling it in. And I don't need to do that. I don't need to allow anybody else's behaviors to affect the way I think and the way I feel inside. So that's the first bit about what I want to share. Now let's talk about how it can possibly show up for us. I know one specific scenario for me that showed up recently is a feeling of disappointment. I wanted to see some people, they weren't able to connect with us. And so that disappointment, that automatically brings me into a lower state of consciousness. It brings me into a lower frequency. Nothing wrong with that per se, but it's just good to be aware of the fact that when I'm in that space, I'm now going to be more vulnerable to other thoughts that have that same or similar frequency. So if I'm in disappointment and then I now start to layer that with thoughts about what did I do wrong? Or self-recrimination. Maybe I should have communicated earlier. Maybe I should have been more specific about what we were doing so we could see each other sooner. Now, none of that at the moment looks to be like I'm taking anything personally, but that's where it's going because disappointment, now I layer with those thoughts of what did I do wrong? Now I'm kind of beating myself up about it a little bit. And then I start thinking about the future and what that could mean and what that could look like. And all of a sudden, I'm in this little vicious hamster wheel of lower frequency thoughts. And now it's much easier for those thoughts of, man, they just don't value us as much as we value them or weren't as interested, et cetera, et cetera. They all start to play in. And it also, if you start to take into the account the way you would handle a situation, and you layer that with the idea that that's the way everyone should handle a situation. And if they don't, it means this. That's the beginning of the snowball of taking things personally. So my first suggestion to you on how to not take things personally is to catch yourself when you first start to feel that deflated energy. Identify, what is it that I'm actually feeling? Where is this starting? I gave you a scenario where it started from disappointment. So find out for yourself, where did it start? What was the pure initial experience? And then you can, from there, be able to identify what was the next thought, what was the next thought. And when you get that level of clarity, when you start to see that from a different perspective, now you can start asking yourself, okay, I got myself to that place where this meant that they weren't as interested in me as I was in them, right? And now I can say, well, what else could that mean? What else could be real here? What else could be true? Because I guarantee you there are multiple truths out there. And while I can convince myself that my truth is the truth, it's probably not. So that's a way for you to kind of start to create some space when you're feeling like you just can't let go and you just can't not take it personally. Start to work backwards because there's usually something else that started that, some kind of disappointment or some kind of thought where we're just being hard on ourselves, where we did feel like we did something wrong, or some kind of worry about, man, I screwed this up for the future. There's something happening there where now the defense mechanism is I'm taking it personally and I'm going to react to taking that personally. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. If it is, share it, pass it along, leave a comment, let me know what stood out to you the most. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to ask. I look forward to sharing with you again soon.